So hi guys, I am here again one more time with another video. My name is Venice Irving and thank you for coming on board with me on my YouTube channel. So please subscribe, please like, please share. Thank you so much. Today we're going to be talking about some interview questions that you may get in the online English teaching job interview. So the first thing that I wanted to say is if you're doing an interview with a potential employer or recruiter, many times you have to make sure that you're relaxed and that you are not too tense. When you answer the questions, make sure to smile and also make sure that you don't answer with vague sentences. Be specific with your answers, right? I'm going to do another video on how to answer these questions, but today I'm just going to pose the interview questions. So take a pen, paper, and get writing. All right, so the first set of questions you're going to get are just introductory questions. Things like just tell me about yourself, introduce yourself to me, where are you from, tell me about your work experience. So this part of the interview is really the employer just trying to get to know you. All right. Another important question is, why should we hire you? Why do you think you are the perfect person for this job? Um, they also ask a lot of questions about your other jobs that you do. So usually English teaching online is done part-time, with other persons. Some people do it full time, but most persons just do it as a part time job. Many employers want to know, what is your full time job? Or do you have other part time jobs? All right. And I'm going to tell you in a minute why they ask these kind of questions. Another question they ask is, where do you gain your proficiency in English language? Are you a native speaker? If you are a non-native speaker, then how did you learn the language and so forth? And questions like, do you have an experience working with children or with adults or with teenagers? Things like that. All right. They ask you these questions, one, because they want to get to know you. Two, they want to know the kind of, what do you call it? The kind of students that you'll get, the kind of learners that you get, if you'll be a great match. So if I am interviewing someone for a teaching position, teaching children, then I want to know the background of that person and if that person has experience teaching kids. All right. Now, if you don't have any formal experience teaching kids, you can use your informal experience. Things like, have you done a vacation Bible school teaching kids at your church? Have you taught at Sunday school or at Sabbath school? Have you done a Bible study with kids before? Have you done a summer school with kids and helping out a teacher? Have you been a teacher's assistant? Those little things can help you. You know what else you can put on your resume and that you can speak in the interview regarding your experience? You can actually say to them that you've had a study group. How many of us had study groups back in high school or in college? We had study groups, right? And we would teach our friends the concepts that we learned, right? So you could use your study group experience and say, hey, I taught a colleague or I taught a friend a certain concept, and it was great. If you're a working colleague, if you have a full-time job and you've taught someone on the job something, then you can use that as an informal experience. Yeah. So don't fret about formal experience. Informal experience can go a long way. All right. If you see me looking down, I'm just looking down at the notes. All right. All right. They also like to ask you about your other full-time job or your other online teaching jobs, because they want to know if your schedule is full or if you have enough time to dedicate to them. All right. So please bear those in mind. Now, usually after you've passed the first step of the interview, they ask you to do a demo. And during the demo, they will ask you questions like, make sure you use different strategies to teach, whether it's a child or an adult that you are using the demo skills on. Make sure you use the specific teaching strategies on that learner. They'll ask you about how you think you can improve your teaching demo. They'll ask you to rate yourself sometimes and say, hey, how do you think you did on a scale of 1 to 10? All right. Education-based questions include things like what kind of degree you have and the specialization of your degree. Do you have any TEFL certifications? That's very important. Or are you a certified teacher in your country? They also ask those kind of questions. They ask, have you taught a particular exam, if it's the IELTS exam or the TOEFL or the TOEIC exam. They'll ask you things like that because they want to know if you're a teacher that can specialize in a certain field. If you are a business teacher or they want you to teach business English, they'll ask you your background on business education and so forth. All right. Sometimes they'll ask you questions on the company, whichever company you are interviewing for. They might say, what do you know about our company? Tell us a little bit more about our policies and our values, things like that. So always remember to do research on the company. All right. Sometimes if you are going to teach children, they'll ask you, are you comfortable being silly in front of the camera? Because kids like when you make a fool of yourself. They love those little things, and they also like when you're animated. So if you're always moving, always charismatic, you bring a smile to somebody's face on camera, those are the things that they love. They are always looking at and seeing how you answer the question, how you respond. So that's why I said in the beginning to always have a smile on your face. They want to know if you're friendly through the camera and if you will come off as warm and nice, so that the students will gravitate to you. You have some people that are nice in person. Well, put them on camera, they look cold. Yeah, and they look a bit unfriendly. So if you are that kind of person, practice in front of the mirror. Practice to smile and practice answering the questions so that you can prepare yourself for the interview and for your classes that's coming ahead. All right. Please note that most online interviews are done through Skype. So make sure you have a Skype account. That's also very important. All right. So they ask about the age groups that you have experience teaching in. They ask about tell me a little bit more about the background in education. So like I said, if you are a professional teacher, you can talk about your experience teaching in your country. However, if you've never taught before, you can always rely on that informal teaching experience that I talked about. You can mention that. All right. You can talk about your teaching style, because they may ask you to describe your teaching style. What kind of teaching strategies do you use for children, and what teaching strategies do you use for adults? So bear those in mind before you go in the interview. Also, look at the differences between teaching children and teaching adults. They may ask you that, and they may ask you if you've ever taught non-English speakers before. So yes, maybe you've taught kids and children and adults in your country, but have you taught children in China, in Korea, in Japan, in Taiwan, in France, Spain, or Costa Rica, or Peru? Depending on where the country is situated, they may just ask you if you've taught children outside of your country, or children who don't speak English as their first language. They also ask you for your availability. So they ask you questions like, what time are you available to teach? Is it in the evenings, in the mornings? Bear in mind that if you are being interviewed by an Asian company, bear in mind the time difference, right? So morning for them is evening for us in the West. So you have to make sure that if you tell them you're free in the evenings, that means that you'll be teaching morning hours for them, all right? Bear in mind too that most hours are free for online classes in the evenings in Asia. So that's where majority of the students will come, in the evenings, and of course on weekends. So if you can teach on weekends, that would be great also. All right. They'll ask you questions like how many hours you want to commit for the month or for the week. So have those hours in mind, and the days and the times of the week. So if it's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and then for weekends, I can teach Saturday evenings and Sunday mornings, whatever it is, make sure you have a schedule in your mind to let them know about it. And lastly, they're going to ask you about your technology, right? They want to know if you have a laptop, if you have a strong bandwidth, strong internet connection. They're going to ask you if you use Wi-Fi or if you have a wired connection. Bear in mind that most companies prefer you to have a wired connection. They don't like the Wi-Fi because, Wi-Fi drops, and that causes interruption in the classes, and that can seem a bit unprofessional, right? So always make sure you say you have wired connection. All right. They also ask you what type of computer you have and how old is your computer. there are other questions that they may ask. Depending on your answers, they may have follow-up questions for you too. But most of all, the interview session is for the recruiter or for the business owner to get to know who you are. So it is always good to present your best foot forward, present your best you. All right. And like I said, if you are going up to teach children, always remain animated, fun, exciting, smile, do gestures and so forth to let them know that you are a fun, engaging teacher that can engage someone through the camera. All right. So if you have any questions, comments, queries, leave them down in the comment box. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for following, for liking, for subscribing, and for always supporting. And I'll see you next time. We'll have another follow-up from this video. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.